Thank you for tuning into the Island Treasures podcast. We value the insights shared by our guests and hosts, but it's important to note that their personal experiences are intended to inform and encourage, and not to replace professional, legal, or medical advice. With that, we are ready for today's exciting episode. Welcome to the Island Treasures mini podcast for caregivers. This episode is brought to you by Alongside Caregiver Consulting. And I am your host and caregiver consultant, Alison Van Schie from beautiful Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. In the full episode entitled A Caregiver, a Life Coach, and a Mompreneur, Natalie Hankins shared how, out of her journey of caregiving these past 29 years, she has found her life's purpose. And when I asked Natalie what her biggest struggle as a caregiver was, here's how she answered.
It was definitely getting that support that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was finding the trusted caregiver. And honestly, I still have that struggle today because we just moved here to Colorado, and I had a hard time finding a caregiver. Like, I was looking for someone to watch the kids a few hours a day before they went to day program. And so I finally found someone, and then it was, okay, well, I'll just ask her for the, occasional date night. And we were just going to do once a month date night. And guess what? The past 2 months, she has ghosted me.
Oh.
So I'm going to have to get back on care.com. I know. It's like, really? Because the first month I thought, oh, well, she just got busy and she missed this message. And then, I texted her again for this month and nothing. So I barely found her to begin with. And again, like, be careful of all those negatives, right? That, like, they come to us automatically, right? So, because what we can do is think about, how am I going to find someone? It's like, focus what we just talked about, right? Focus on the vision of us having what we want. And then that's when our brain starts to get really resourceful and look for the how. So the first step is like visualizing that it's possible, right? So if I focus on, okay, well, I will definitely be able to find a caregiver. Like, that's an affirmation I could repeat to myself. I will definitely be able to find it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So when we go from, so I'm like coaching myself right now. When we go from, it's hard for me to find a caregiver, so that's a negative, right? To, I can definitely find a caregiver. Now, like, most of my clients can't do that 180, right? So that's where I need to come in, right? To help you get to that more empowering place. But just in general, and to anybody who's listening, just, try not to focus on the negative. Like we said before, focus on what you want and how it is possible to get it. And then your brain will see, oh, well, I know how it's possible. There's not only care.com, but there's Facebook groups, and there's asking around the neighbors, and you see?
Yeah. Word of mouth and networking. And yeah, like you say, you're new though, and you do want to find someone trustworthy. And you do want to have your date night.
Yes, I do. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation today, because I need to make sure that I get that into my schedule and start taking steps towards that, because it is very important.
With all her caregiving experience and wisdom, Natalie still found herself struggling, like many other caregivers, when plans are thwarted. In Natalie's example, she had to find a replacement caregiver because the caregiver she had hired ghosted her. So what did she do? She put on her coaching hat and during our conversation started coaching herself, looking for alternatives so she could find another trusted caregiver to provide care and support for her 2 adult children for the hours prior to their day programs, and for her own care, her self-care, ensuring that she and her husband could safely take some time out for themselves on a date night. How about you? What's your biggest struggle when caregiving? Do you have supports in place to help you troubleshoot for those times when your plans fall apart? Or when someone who said they'd be there ghosts you? Do you have a coach or a caregiver consultant to help you find the solutions for that struggle? I recognize how precious your time is, especially as caregivers. And so this mini podcast is designed just for you. And when you have more time, I invite you to listen to the full episode to hear so much more from Natalie, including her suggestions to help at times like this, and also how you can attend your own breakthrough session. And if you find yourself in the midst of your own caregiving journey and need some supports, I invite you to tap into alongsidecaregiverconsulting.ca. Thanks for listening today. Take care.